Good evening. This is the call to order for the regular Board of Aldermen meeting at the Salado Municipal Building, 301 North Stagecoach Road in Salado, Texas. The date is March 20th, 2025, and it is 6:30 p.m. Mr. De La Rosa, please call the roll.
Mayor Pro Tem Brotney Bell is absent, but you have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. As we begin this Board of Aldermen meeting, let us take a moment to reflect on our shared commitment to serve the diverse community of the Village of Salado. We invite all present, regardless of faith, belief, or philosophy, to join us in a spirit of unity, respect, and compassion. May our deliberations be guided by wisdom, our decisions rooted in fairness, and our actions driven by the common good. Whether you find inspiration in a higher power, the bonds of humanity, or the wonders of nature, let us work together to build a culture where every voice is heard and every individual is valued. Let's take a moment, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one indivisible. Thank you, and thanks everybody for being here. I like to see a packed house. It's always a good thing. Number one item on the agenda, presentation to the Village of Salado from the Heart of Texas Corvette Club. John Perry, President 2025, and Jason Howard, Vice President 2025. If you guys want to come up.
Good evening.
Good, sir. Good, sir.
On behalf of the Heart of Texas Corvette Club, we want to thank the Alderman. Thank the Village of Salado and all the cooperation we got. We had a fabulous event here. So we had 15 Corvettes all lined up. Some of them were on Royal Street, and some of them were on Main Street. We brought some people to Salado for the very first time. We had a great meeting. We had about 50 people or so in our meeting. I actually posted some pictures of the event on Salado People. Got 150 likes and lots of positive comments, including several that said we need to do more of this in the Village of Salado. Not one negative comment, believe it or not. So we just want to thank y'all, and our Vice President Jason has a plaque that he wants to present to the Village of Salado. Okay. Again, we want to extend our thank you for what y'all did to allow us to do this. So we hope this will become at least an annual event. We want to try it again this coming month, but we won't make this an annual event and bring people to Salado and get the word out.
Let's do it. Thank you.
So right here, for the members of the audience, basically it's thank you letters to the Salado, Mayor, Board of Aldermen, also signed by all the members of the private family. We'll work with us.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Police Chief Bill, do you mind joining us? Not taking over the meeting. He just
Do your thing.
he was involved. He's gonna do it without Police Chief.
No, Chief, it's okay.
All right, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. They're out. Okay.
Okay. Item 2, public comments. The Board of Aldermen welcomes comments from citizens on issues and items of concern not on the agenda. Those wishing to speak must sign in before the meeting begins and observe a 5-minute time limit when addressing the board. Speakers will have one opportunity to speak during this time period. Speakers desiring to speak on an agenda item will be allowed to speak when the agenda item is called. Inquiries about matters not listed on the agenda will either be directed to staff or placed on a future agenda for Alderman consideration. I haven't had anybody sign up, but I'll open it up now for public comments. Hold on one second.
Mic's on.
Is that mic on? Can you?
What about now? You need to try now? Okay. Test, 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 test.
Is there a switch on here?
Oh, hello. Test, 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 test. Test, test, test.
Speak up.
Unfortunately, I've had a little bit of voice cancer in my throat, so I'm yelling at you right now, Mayor. So,
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
I wanted to be the guy here to point out that I appreciate the opportunity to speak. It was pointed out last meeting that one of the council members doesn't appreciate me speaking since I don't live in the city. I'm a taxpayer, and I think it's my right to speak, and I appreciate you guys letting me speak. I will also want to point out that the same guy that believes that is also the guy that looked the other way when our corruption was going on and we're losing $1.5 million or $2 million through negligence of the former council members, and not this bunch, but the former ones, along with the mayor and the city manager. I noticed on Facebook they were discussing the fact that they thought it was a crime that our new city manager does not live in the city limits. And my thought is, I don't want to go back to the guy we had before, and he lived right here amongst us. There was corruption going on. We had a guy that voted with that corruption on everything. I don't understand. I see a lot of people on Facebook commenting about what we're going to do about these taxes and the tax rate going up. Did anybody ever approach the city manager beside myself? Because the city manager said, as long as it makes everybody happy to keep cutting taxes, even during inflation, that's what me and the mayor are going to do. If you can't do basic math and realize the cost of living is going up 10 or 15% yearly, and you're cutting your taxes, being surprised that there's a shortfall. I agree it was mismanagement and other things by the city manager and the mayor led them down that path, and with me hollering, whoa, 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 this council member that reprimanded me for speaking mentioned to me that one day, do you think you're smarter than an engineer? Well, I would tell you, yeah, I am. I'm not the smartest guy around, but I understand if your tax rate's at 62 and you cut it down into the 30s and you're not paving your streets, then you're not going to be able to pave your streets. You can have one or the other. So for everybody to be surprised of 5 years in a row of cutting taxes and giving these sweetheart deals going outside of town and annexing something 7-8 miles from town, we couldn't afford that then, and we still can't afford it. It's a boat anchor around our neck here. And that's the unfortunate thing. There are not good decisions. And the guy putting out all the information about the taxes being cut and going up so high on Facebook, I tried to talk to him 2 or 3 times about it. He wants to continue driving home the fact that they're going up so much percentage-wise, but they're not as high as they were 5 years ago. How can you keep your roads going, the police department going, city hall going, if we keep cutting taxes? You can't. It's proven that. And coming on to for him to chew on to the accountant the other day, the accountant may be the worst accountant in the world. But we've gone through 4 or 5 years of folks before y'all ignoring what the facts are. Time and again. They've been warned. They got what they asked for. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Jack Como, 1618 Mill Creek Drive. I said I wouldn't do this anymore, but I think we need to follow up on some things. I think Mr. Bourne makes some good points. However, we're just beating that same old horse, I think. Don Ferguson was the guy that was instrumental in handling the money and cutting deals and putting developers together with the city. Don Ferguson made up the video presentations that were so well packaged in all the comments that he would use, and he took over half the meeting time generally to present all of his business. And I'm not making any complaints about Jason or Rodney Bell. Y'all were on the council during that time. He presented a well-prepared package. He presented facts and figures. And for me, the average layman out here, looked like it was a good deal for the city. If I'd have been on the council, I'd have probably said, yeah, that sounds good. And Manny has been hired in here, and I call him a financial gunslinger. That's what he does. He goes from troubled towns to troubled towns, and he cleans up the mess, okay? The problem with that is when the guy comes in and starts cleaning up, and he steps on toes and he reveals things, then they no longer like the gunslinger that came to town and cleared up the mess. And this has gotten out of hand. I'm personally offended by the comments of some citizens on Facebook and hearing meetings and things that actually stab the mayor in the back and some of the councilmen. You guys have been on the council for 8 or 9 months since the election, and you can't clean up 4 years worth of mess in 8 or 9 months. And I'm personally offended at some of these people that voted for you and supported you and now are turning on you like a bad dog and not giving you a chance to try to work this out. It's going to take time, and it's not going to be pleasant, and you're going to raise my taxes. And I get frozen taxes to a certain level, but I still pay a hefty bill. And we got the mayor and the police chief filling chug holes because we don't have any money to have them filled. You can't clean up this mess in 8 months that took 4 years. And there's not but one way to get clarification on this mess, and that is to have Don Ferguson sit down in front of an investigator or in front of a panel and have Manny have the books and say, what about this entry? Where did that go? Why did you pay that? What about this? What about this? What about this? He's the guy that controlled the money. He's the guy that made the payments. He's the guy that put the deals together. Mike Coggin and you guys were on the council. You voted for it. You approved it. But this guy handled the money, and this guy had all the doings going on behind the scenes. And until you get that guy to start singing, we're not going to ever know where a lot of this stuff went. And that's just my feeling on it. And selling police cars and cutting cops and cutting services now is a Band-Aid. You got 1,400 people going to occupy this apartment and townhome complex. That is a city within the city, and they're going to be voters, and they're going to be all down in this town, and they're going to start carrying some weight as to what happens. And if you're not prepared for that now, with police protection, business protection, council actions, rules and regulations, we're going to be overrun with something that we can't catch up with. But Don Ferguson needs to be held to task and say what he did, when he did it, where he did it, with who he did it. And if it's wrong and unethical, so be it. If it's corruption and criminal, we have a police department that knows how to handle that and file charges. And I'm sitting out here as a citizen going, how come I don't hear what Don did and what Don said? I know it's an active investigation, and you can't come in and let them investigation, and that creates suspicion among voters because they don't know what they're hearing. You've been transparent every time I've called you or texted you or anybody. you immediately replied or called me back or, gave me answers I needed. Midnight, we're talking about how come this is so-and-so. So I have no problem with what y'all are trying to do. I have a big problem with citizens that sit here holding a knife, stabbing you while they were voting for you with the other hand. They need to be ignored. They're not worth the trouble. We need to find out from the people that control the money and cut the deals what happened, and then take action and see if we can pull this city back up out of the water. That's my opinion.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. Darlene Walsh, 1001 Mill Creek Drive. And thank you so much for getting a better sound system. This is great. I mean, we haven't been able to hear much of anything, even on Zoom, until you got this new system. So thank you very much. That's a huge improvement. You can't fix what people don't understand or know. And many times people can't come to meetings. So this is great. Thank you. I've been here a long time. Mike and I have been here a long, long time, since 1993. And we've invested heavily in town, as you know. I helped incorporate town, as you know, in 2000. In 2014, when we had the bond election was, well, before the bond election, in spring of 2014, Mr. Foster, who was the owner of the Stagecoach Inn, offered up the wastewater plant at the Stagecoach at that time. It was small. It was 50,000 gallons a day, and it was old, but it had a newer line under 35 that went out to 2843 down Kirkendall Road to 200 acres where the treated sewage was sent. And he offered the town, now he gave us the wastewater plant, but he also offered, with the TABC permit, but he also offered to sell us the 200 acres for like $1 million. It was a deal. Now, I don't know if you've ever dealt with TABC, they really rarely ever say no. We could have easily upgraded that wastewater plant to at least 100,000 gallons. And it would have taken care of all of the business district, which we were all told at that time we were voting to help the business district. There was no mention of sanctuary at any time. That didn't come until after the bond election of November of 2014. So we had the bond election in 2014, even though we owned a sewage plant at that time. And Mr. Hanks refuses to admit that we did own a sewage plant at that time. We did. But anyway, we could have used that, but the board at that time, completely different board, completely different manager, opted instead, even after hearing our own engineer say the best place to put the sewage plant would be down on the corner of 24, 84, and 35 in the dry creek there, Caps Creek. He went back there and looked at that and said, best place, do it there. And it was for sale at that time. We could have done that too. But no, they did a deal with Mr. Hanks. And Mr. Hanks says he gave us the permit and the land. But really, I mean, we had to give up a lot to get it. And here's the other thing is, we were all told before that bond election by Jim Reed, who had 3 caps at that time. He was on the school board, Salado School Board. He was our sort of temporary manager of the town, and also working at Central Texas Council of Governments. And he got up and he told us at one meeting before the bond election that we were going to have 330 payers of this sewage system as soon as it gets as soon as it gets installed, that they would all be paying into that system, and so the homeowners wouldn't have to. Of course, we know that didn't happen. And some of us, and I know there are a few people here who own businesses, and including us, that received threatening letters from town that we had to connect, or liens would be put on our property. So we connected once it was installed. And, but I don't think it never got into the black until recently, right? It was always general funds had to pick up the negative. Because we only, I think, and I don't know how many people we have connected to it now, but as of a couple of years ago, I think it was like 100, no, it was 90 some. It wasn't anywhere near 330. Maybe now with the apartments and some of the other homes. But again, nothing was said about about home builders. In fact, our commissioner, Tim Brown, warned us, you don't pay home builders to come. Just commercial. Commercial will pay the way, but don't make the same mistake other cities make. You don't give the deals to the home builders, but instead it happened with Sanctuary. And there was, by the way, there was a survey that was, I'll just tell you, there was a survey, a legal survey that was presented to the previous board and mayor and manager that could have prevented a lot of this. And some of the people in this room signed it, but that manager chose not to allow us to vote on it. And so I thank you, Mayor, for letting us vote on this petition, which is legal, and thank you for respecting the people who did sign it. But you know, the truth is, you're trying to fix all this mess, and I really appreciate what you're doing, because you're going after people who didn't connect but were supposed to. And if they don't, you put liens on their property, because they're not helping us. They're causing our homeowners to have to pay more. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay, item 3, consent agenda. A, approval of the minutes of March 6, 2025, regular Board of Aldermen meeting. B is acceptance of the Police Department monthly report. C, acceptance of the Tourism Department monthly report. D, acknowledge receipt of petition for release from the Village of Salado extraterritorial jurisdiction on March 5, 2025 from Glenda K. Hill, being a 5.129 acre tract of land located in the Young Williams Survey, abstract number 861, Bell County, Texas. Said 5.129 acre tract being a portion of that called 59.76 acre tract of land recorded in document number 202-107-1192, official public records, Bell County, Texas. Alderman Graham, you have any questions?
No questions.
Alderman Hurst.
No question.
Alderman McDonald.
No questions.
Okay, and Manny, anything you want to add to any of
No,
this?
sir.
Good to
That's
go?
all
Okay.
good.
If there's no further questions, I'll open it up for motion.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as provided.
Motion made by Alderman Graham to approve consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Hurst. Any further discussion?
Question.
Question called by Alderman McDonald. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Mr. De La Rosa, that passes 3-0. Item 4, discuss and consider possible action regarding any item removed from the consent agenda. There are none. Item 5, Village Administrator's Report, Sales Tax Collection Update. Mr. De La Rosa.
Okay, Mayor and Alderman, you will see that for the January sales, there we are, allocated during the month of March, $67,607. So certainly a significant drop from the February sales. From the December sales. So it's on track, as you can tell from prior years. It's a little bit better. So any questions about our sales tax?
Alderman Graham.
No questions about the sales tax.
Alderman Hurst.
No questions.
Alderman McDonald.
No following questions.
Good, thank you, sir. You got anything else?
No, sir.
Good. Item 6. Let's see here. I think if the board will allow it, I want to move item one here. Is that item F, Ms. De La Rosa?
6F, yes, sir.
Yeah. I want to move item F up to the top, because I think we have some folks that are probably here that want to talk about this. We're not gonna vote on this tonight, but we had considered even tabling this item, but I think in the interest of transparency, I want to have some discussions on this. So if the board will allow it, I want to move item F up to the front. Let's discuss that first. So item F, discussion and possible action on approving ordinance number 2024 TAC 14A and ordinance amending ordinance number 2024 TAC 14, which setting a property ad valorem tax rate, approving the ad valorem tax rate and levy of 48.6 cents per $100 of assessed valuation of all taxable property within the corporate limits of the village for the 2024 tax year to support fund the fiscal year 2024-2025 operating budget for the Village of Salado, providing for removing an exemption on residence homesteads, providing for exemptions for individuals who are disabled or 65 years of age or older, providing for penalties and interest, providing for severability, providing for repealing conflict, providing for proper notice and meeting, engrossment and enrollment, notification to assessor, and providing for publication and effective date. Mr. De La Rosa, you want to kick this off?
Yes, sir. Let me kind of start this off for you. I am proposing, or at least part of the discussion, so to explore the options of what we're going to do should the petition get approved, right? That verbiage, the way it's worded, who would not vote for a tax reduction? So taking that position, and I've stated this previously, if you're not going to operate at 48.6 cents per $100 evaluation and you have to reduce it to 36.12 cents per $100 evaluation, you need to start preparing yourself. I wasn't here at the last meeting when we made some budget amendments. We created a department. We didn't change the budget. We're going to go through a budget amendment should the petition get approved. You're going to have to pay back approximately $550,000. Those funds have come in and they've already been segregated. We are prepared to do that, and we're required to do that within 60 days. So let's go to the last meeting. You amended the budget. This current budget, we're amending it again. The budget just created the Department of Administrative Services, a couple of roles, but there is no additional funds. It is lateral moves within the general fund, okay? So I wasn't here to answer those, but I heard some questions that came up about it, so I wanted to answer this part of this. This, again, we're not amending your budget yet. We will do that sometime in June based on the results of the May 2025 elections on that petition. So part of the options, and I know, I see the mayor almost daily. I see Alderman McDonald almost as often. McDonald can tell you that we know that the over 65 local homestead exemption, the local option homestead exemption, it's a $21 million value. You ran the numbers, approximately about $532,000 that we're losing, right?
Okay. Yep.
If we didn't have that option, okay? So the discussions have been, and there's discussions at the state legislature about the homestead exemption, whether it goes up, stays the same. I doubt it'll go less, but it may likely go up. There's no discussions that I can tell on the over 65. And then certainly veterans, the spouses of veterans, and those benefits, those three items are protected by state law. You have what's called the local option homestead exemption on top of that. Do you want to remove it, reduce it, adjust it, and are we compliant with other applicable laws? That's why we decided, or at least the discussion has been with some of you, is maybe we should have that discussion, get some public input as we explore what we're going to do. I took the extreme case and I had the city attorney strike out, will not affect, this does not affect any part of the budget now. We'll amend it later. It just removes that local option homestead exemption, the 20% and over. So you've got, for example, you've got a $500,000 home, you've got the homestead exemption, it's reduced, but then you've got a 20%, not on that, on the entire valuation. So you're basically double dipping in some of these things, right? So I had a conversation with somebody called today. She was concerned about her husband's veteran benefits, and I guess she's got it. I don't know if he's deceased or not, but I said, no, I said, but think of it this way, it doesn't, it's protected by state law. However, if we increase exemptions, we have to increase the tax rate. It's very simple economics for us. If you reduce the exemptions and you don't give as many of those, then you can reduce the tax rate. And she goes, well, that makes sense. Thank the mayor and you for what you're doing. Now I understand because I'm reading things out on social media. Okay? The point is, so I wanted to start out with you. This, I certainly recommend that I get some input either from you or the community so we know how we're going to proceed. Should the petition fail and it stays at 48.6 and you keep these exemptions, you might be able to reduce it faster, Mayor, like you had indicated. But we don't have a capital improvement plan, and it's very difficult to plan for one if I don't know what the budget's going to look like. Alderman McGowan, we talked, I said, it'll take me another year just after this year just to put a budget together that actually tells me what we're going to have. So with that being said, I'll turn it over back to you, Mayor, or if anybody's got any questions for me about, again, this was extreme. We just removed it completely. It certainly got everybody's attention, and that's what it was supposed to do. We discussed it. We're not getting enough participation at the town hall meeting, so let's see if we can get them at the regular meeting.
So thank you. To Mr. De La Rosa's point, for those that are in attendance, and the board is already aware of this, so we're holding this series of town hall meetings to talk about what got us to where we're at currently with the financial situation, and kind of what the path forward is. Those turnouts have been not great. I think the first one we had a packed house. The rest of them, there might have been 20 at the next one. Half of those were at the previous one, and then the last one we had, I don't remember exactly what that turnout was. 12. We have another one scheduled for the second Thursday in April, and that'll be the last one. And in that we're discussing where we were at, what brought us to this point, gave some examples of previous tax rates and those kind of things, and it was mentioned earlier about we were, I think 2018 at 62 cents. And I asked the question in these town hall meetings is, where was the outrage that your roads weren't getting fixed when you were paying 62 cents for your tax rate? So we're still pushing through and trying to get some of these things done, and I'm gonna find a way to get it done. And myself and Chief Fields have been out. I did it 2 weekends. He came out another weekend and helped, and we're getting ready to do it again here pretty soon. Where we're out ourselves fixing potholes. And, you know, you hear people screaming about the potholes being fixed, and then they want to complain when I'm out there fixing potholes, and I'm in the way, and they want to honk their horn, and you know we're holding them up while we're fixing the potholes. I mean, you can't win for losing. So, and the other point that was made earlier about the you know, putting the knife 10 inches on our back every time they get a chance. And I told my family before the election, our friends who we had before the election is who our friends are. After that, they're going to come out of the woodworks, and they want to be your friend. But as soon as you do something they don't agree with, you're not your friend anymore. And I'm okay with that. I mean, I have a lot of, I don't have a lot. I have what I need. And this 65 and up deal, we're not taking away the 65 and up, the freeze. On top of the 65 and up freeze that the state allows, there's an additional $50,000 that's coming off of that, which is a local exemption. Same thing with the other one, the 20% is a minimum of $5,000 or 20% that everybody in the Village of Salado that owns property here and lives here gets an additional 20% off the top of their tax rate. And raise your hand if you knew that. 4 people. And out of the other conversations I have, really probably about 98% of the people that I speak to are baffled by, like, no, we had no idea. We had no idea that's a, and it was, you didn't have to do anything to get it. So now we're looking at, you know, with this petition, and I knew the petition was coming, and even had a conversation with a gentleman that filed the petition and told him in October 25th of 24 was when that conversation took place. And that was the night before my birthday at a football game, and we had a conversation, and I told him I support you exercising your right to file this petition, and I'll do whatever I can to help you make sure that it gets on the ballot. If our timelines have held you up and you don't meet your deadlines, then if I have to go with you to district court and request to the district court judge myself to allow this to go on the ballot, I'll do so because I support you exercising your right to do something. And in turn, the comment was, I appreciate it, and during your town hall meetings, if you can make it make sense to me, I'll vote against my own petition. I haven't seen him at the first town hall meeting. I haven't seen him at a Board of Aldermen meeting since he got up here and bashed the veterans on this board, and did it again just recently. If you guys haven't seen that, go take a look and feel free to jump in there and say something. The veterans, 4 out of the 5 on this board are veterans. We have veteran status, and because we don't pay property taxes, he stood up here and talked about that. And, well, I don't offer any apologies for that whatsoever. So, with that being said, this 20% that nobody else, we've got Temple and Little River Academy is the only one that does these local exemptions like that. And we have an 88.5% homeownership population. Those type of incentives are given to in areas where you have a low homeownership population and you want to incentivize people to buy homes. We are above that rate, that number that we need to be incentivizing people to buy homes. At 88.5%, we are higher than the state average, which is about 64%, I believe. That's why these discussions are being had. And it's really contrary to the conspiracy theories and all, and I've said it over and over again, quit getting your news off of Facebook. If you want to hear it, my number's out there, these guys' numbers out there, we're happy to have this conversation with you. I don't know what else I can do. I've held town hall meetings, I've made myself available. I can't make people call me. And to the point earlier, if the way that it's worded on the ballot, with to reduce the tax rate basically from 48 cents to 36.12 for or against. That's all it says. So if I'm reading that and I don't know what's going on, and I go to the poll and I go see that reduce the tax rate to 36 cents, heck yeah, I'm voting for that. But if you don't know the backstory to that, you really, I would urge you to please educate yourself and find out what happens if that happens. That's all. Alderman Graham?
Manny, I do have one question. Do we have numbers, just theoretically, that show if we did not have that 20% reduction in potential revenue, what that would bring in on a tax year?
Yes, well, I've looked at them. I've looked at that information. I think it's not a portal that's got access. So I think
Yeah.
So we've got a very good idea of why it's not the 5,000, that's
So I'll just put it this way. By having that local reduction of 20%, we're losing an additional $500,000 in revenue annually. That's the impact of that. And how short are we right now in terms of, well, we brought it to 48 with the intention of being at 48 for a couple of years to get us out of the hole of what we were and are right now, correct? Yeah. And so one potential course of action would be if it goes down to the 36 or whatever, the removal of the 20%. Because the numbers are about the same, aren't they? So people would pay less taxes, but some people would pay more taxes. Mm-hmm. Or another potential course of action would be the removal of the 20%, and let's say that we were able to stay at the same tax percentage, the 48 that we had approved, and that would bring us back into the black in half the time that we projected, essentially, right?
That is correct. That was the idea.
Interesting. That's all I have.
Alderman Hurst?
No, you answered my question. Thank you.
Alderman McDonald?
Yes. Just want to put it out there, keeping it simple.
you earn an exemption, you've earned an exemption. I'm the first one's going to say that, all right? But I'm also the person that hears conversations from 3/4 of our community who are not 65 and older taking advantage of that in-house exemption that we provide here at the village. And here's what I know. We have families that are growing out there. People are still going to school. People are working every day, all right? And even though a portion of our community has already done that task, done that piece, in a lot of ways of looking at it, when you're getting the exemption local here at 65 and older versus also at the state level, that is a true double dip in my eyes, okay? Let me give you another way of looking at it. If you just base it off of even $450,000 in revenue stream that we can bring in based on a reduction or loss of that exemption. It's currently $38 or $39,000 for every penny that we, 38? It's $38,000 or 1 penny on our current tax rate for home ownership. That would help us reduce that and kind of balance the books out. In other words, level the playing field. Now, I am a disabled veteran, and I'd be happy to give you back that parts of my life to get me back to where you are now, those who are not. But things are what they are, all right? I'm not asking for anything more or less than what I've earned and what you've earned. But what I am going to say is this. Mr. Delarose, I've read this and I understand what we're doing here, at least the purpose of this. Mayor, Board of Aldermen, sorry, to preclude you. Homestead exemption applies to everybody regardless of age, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. I would be willing to look at small bites. I don't like taking a big chunk. I think there's a reality here. We all got to be neighbors. I mean that. I would like to maybe relook at this and maybe come up with a different version of a draft where we legally look at what we can do and what we may be able to reduce it at. I don't know if maybe providing a arbitrary number in my head comes to mind, but I think at a minimum we should look at the difference between 20% and the state minimum of $5,000 and find something equal somewhere in the middle for the 65 and older crowd. Because I think respect's important too. For the homestead piece of it, I would like to recommend that we at a minimum table that conversation. And just, in other words, meaning by, I would like to look at what homestead would be as well in that same aspect. So that way, we as a board and the community can take reflexive conversation and make some good decisions based on the needs of not only the community, but the village to operate properly. So, in essence, for everybody who hears my voice, it's about compromise. Making sure everybody's needs are met. And not one class of folks is left out behind. That's how I'm seeing it. That's my point of view, Mr. Delaware.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor, for your time.
Thank you. All right, I will now open this up for public comment. Somebody wants to get up and speak on this agenda item, come on up.
I appreciate Mr. McDonald, Alderman McDonald, negotiating, and I think that's what we should do. But first of all, I'd like to mention, I think we're a little closer to a third of the population is at the 65 and over, as I am. And I have had my taxes frozen, sort of, except for the school stuff keeps going up and Bell County keeps going up. But I was trying to decide what's better for me personally, given that I'm on a fixed income. I don't pay for cable. I do some work for my sister, so she pays for my phone. So I keep my outgoing money very careful. And I pay my taxes by every 2 months in the spring, like you can do if you're over 60. So you don't even have all my money yet for taxes this year to give me back. I think I figured out that it makes more sense for me to not vote for the tax revoking and hope you don't have to go begging my 20,000 off my property valuation. But if you do have to do that, if too many people say we want our $600,000 back, and I know I'm not going to get anything like that back from you, I think you ought to also consider the possibility of, instead of the 20,000 off my evaluation, go for 10,000 off. Inch forward a little bit, so it's not a harder hit. We hear the egg prices are going down, so let's negotiate these other prices too a little bit. And wait and see. I'm still waiting to see. I was one of those teachers who, after 35, 40 years of teaching and paying Social Security from 16 to 40, and then every summer 2 or 3 jobs in Maine so that I could keep Social Security, I ended up with $500 a month Social Security. I was one of those teachers on the fairness thing. And I'm waiting. Next month I might get an increase. So I'm waiting to see that. We're all on edge financially. I hope we don't vote to revoke your tax bill. I think it's reasonable and fair what you've done. I am thankful you did not opt to borrow money to cover us, because I really hate debt. I'm very big against debt, if at all possible. So I'm just hoping you consider, if you have to go to getting some money from what is a real gift to the community, that 20,000 off our valuations, that maybe we can think in terms of 10,000 off. At least it's better than most communities around us as a gift for the property owners. Thank you.
We know who you are.
Who are you?
I stir things up a little bit sometimes by accident because I ask questions. Linda Reynolds, 1110 Mill Creek Drive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor and Alderman, you might recall at the last town hall meeting, Ms. Reynolds asked if we could give a number what an over 65 with those reductions would look like. The more I thought about it, it is very difficult because not everybody turns 65 at the same time. Not all properties are appraised at the same time. So therefore, one number won't fit everybody else, and they probably won't even fit a population, not knowing that it's very, very subjective on each property. Thank you.
Howdy. My name is Erin Wunderlich. I live on Roseway, and I'm a neighbor of Alderman McDonald. Just want to say thank you so much for what you are doing. I had no idea that you were personally filling potholes in our lovely little village, so thank you. On behalf of all younger working folks who happen to live here in Salado, I really appreciate that. I just wanted to say that I really appreciate all the discussion that's going on about maybe not going for a full change of the homestead exemption. Me and my young family, our job pay increases are not keeping up with inflation. I work for the VA for a lot of disabled veterans and fully agree that y'all have earned what you have earned. And so I understand that my demographic is often the one that is going to take up for the mantle for some of that, and I think that's fair. But I also appreciate trying to think of it in taking smaller bites if possible, because our family's taxes on our property went up $2,000 some odd from 23 to 24, and this proposed change would go up another 500, 600, depending on what our property is assessed at. And I now have a son in daycare, and our job, my pay is just not going to go up to keep up. So I do expect that families like myself may not be able to continue to live in Salado if we go up too fast and not give a chance for other economic things to potentially settle out. So I just want to say thank you for considering all the options. I also am a big fan of no debt and being back in the black locally as best we can. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Anybody else? Come on.
I realize that this is a problem, a two-way problem, because old folks like me, you know, we're on a fixed income, some retirement. I'm banged up from being a cop for 20 years. You know, in the morning I have to almost have a crane to get me out of bed sometimes, but I go out and sit on my front porch and I see young families and young children in their golf carts driving around. And they're going to be the lifeblood of this town as we go forward. So I like the idea of Mr. McDonald's compromise where maybe we can sit down and talk reasonably and come up with something that is in the middle that will help Mandy recover money and pay bills. We'll be able to keep a police department and hopefully a maintenance department and do some of the things that we need to do, because these young families come here with expectations and they work hard. Two parents working and house full of kids. And they've got to have something to look forward to make a home. And a lot of them want to stay here. If they're in the military, they may transfer out and they may come back. But if we don't find some basis to have a plan and get some expenses going where we can all afford to pay a little of our pocket, then we keep facing this problem every year and every year. And people are going to go, I'm going to live in Salado, it's too expensive, and they're broke. Who the heck would want to live in Salado? But I see the future of Salado every day from my front porch. So it's imperative that we find a middle ground to make things work. And I think if we compromise, I was not for the reducing the taxes, because I want good city services. I want police protection. I want good equipment. I want tourism and chamber of commerce be able to bring visitors and business and revenue to Salado, and building homes around here, and we have families and kids. Some of the families that I know riding around Salado, they were kids in Rogers when I was on patrol over there. So now they got kids and they got grandkids. And that's going to be what keeps Salado going and keeping it a family type environment and a place people want to come to. So I feel like we need to find a middle ground now, and maybe we can make this work for people who want to stay. I think it's my opinion.
And we want them to stay. There are things that are in the works right now that I can't really get into because there were some things under negotiation. But there's some exciting things coming that's going to generate some tax revenue and new revenue streams for the village. Things that have been suppressed for a long time, and that people were saying that we don't want this, we don't want this, we don't want this. Well, they put out a survey, and according to the respondents to the survey, they do want this. They want to see commercial things come in commercially to support the people that we have here. We're already at almost 2,400 people, and then you got another however many coming in over here at Water's Edge, and then before too long we're going to have another 14,000 homes to the south of us over here at Solana Ranch. So those are going to be our neighbors too. So we're bringing in some things that are going to generate some new revenue streams for us, and we're going through and we're charging appropriately for permits and tying into the seeing who's tied into our sewer, who hasn't been paying for it, and we're making them pay for it. And you know, it's one of those things. Again, you kind of can't win for losing. Everybody's happy with you when you're doing everything that they like, and you do one thing that they don't like, and then they want to start throwing stones at you and spitting on you and everything else. But I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I don't know how anybody in this room can be surprised by anything that we're doing, because I said I was going to do it, and I'm going to continue to do it. And to say, I do speak with citizens. I'm engaging with citizens all day, every day. But when we put out the call and say, hey, we want input, and they don't show up to give us input, then what are we supposed to do? Where are we supposed to get our information from? Where are we supposed to get the direction? The people are the ones that elected us here. I'm well aware of that. But you can't, expect us to do a job and then we want you to do this, but then when it starts to impact you, I don't want you to do that anymore. And that's what we're finding. Let's go to the stroll with the vendor fees. Everybody, for years I've been saying, are these vendors coming in here? Are they registering with the village? Are they paying taxes? Or when they come in here and they sell their wares and all that? So the ordinance is in place. We were going to do it, and everybody was up in arms. I can't believe you can charge these people permit fees to come in here and do business in our town. Well, yeah. And those are things that you hear them complain about, but then when it starts to affect them, they don't like it anymore. So it's this is not for the faint of heart for sure. So good luck to the 7 others that are running for these other empty seats over here. Tim, did you have something you want to say?
Tim Fleischer, I live at 912 Cedar Park Circle. In 2008, the Village of Salado first implemented a property tax, and that's when the exemptions were set in place. If you go to belcad.org, which has all of the exemptions for every other taxing entity in Bell County, ours are by far the most generous. The City of Temple also has the 5,000 and 20% reduction on the local homestead. Mm-hmm. I think there's probably confusion that if you do away with the local homestead exemption, that it's going to affect anyone's taxes that is a disabled veteran or is over 65. It will absolutely not affect their taxes. Those who are disabled and those who are over 65, their taxes are frozen regardless of whatever else happens. Whether their home increases in value, whether the tax rate goes up, once they've filed that exemption, their taxes are frozen. So it's not going to affect anyone over 65. It's not going to affect those who are local disabled. Our exemptions also for the local over 65 are 3 times more generous than the closest municipality. We offer a $50,000 on top of 20% reduction in the taxable value of your home. So if you're at a $500,000 home, you take 20% off, that brings you down to $400,000. Once you turn 65, you go to $350,000. So in 2008, someone over 65 living in a $500,000 home, and think about values in 2008. $500,000 was a big house. I mean, those were the mansions in Salado in 2008. They would only pay $172.20 in taxes, and they were frozen until they either sell their, even if they sell their house and they move somewhere else in the same community, they keep that frozen rate. Board of Aldermen at that time were all over 65. They adopted a 4.92 cent tax rate, and the statements on the board was this will pay for the roads. And at that time, that tax rate would have raised, I'm trying to pull it out of the back of my mind, but I think it's about $200,000. Because at the time we had about $200,000 to $300,000 in sales tax, and then we had some franchise fees. So the sales tax and the franchise fees were to pay for the management of the village. And a 4.9 cent property tax was to pay only for the roads. Our property tax is the 3rd lowest of the 11 municipalities in Bell County, even at the adopted rate. The other thing that I think Manny can probably talk to, I'm probably going to run out of time. Even if you take the 20% and approve that, that doesn't mean that my individual taxes are going to go up 20%. because you are bound by the law of how much you can increase over your previous year property tax income. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay? And I think it's about 8% before it hits the voters. So what it's really going to mean is that the tax rate on that house will go down. And realtors, they don't ever talk about an exemption. The only thing a realtor talks about is a tax rate when they're trying to sell your house. Also think that rolling back the taxes will cripple our village financially. I think it will put us on the verge of bankruptcy. We have I've said in the past, we have a sword of Damocles hanging over our head, and it's still there. And if you have to pay $500,000 or $600,000 back to the taxpayers, and then we have a developer who finishes his project, which is really looming, we're not going to have the money to do it.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Come on.
Okay. Larry, you have to take the hat off before addressing the board.
Sorry, buddy. Larry Michaels, 1346 Long Meadow, Salado, Texas. I'm actually pretty impressed with the critical thinking that's been going on over this subject over the last few years. It's great to see this many people in here, participating, offering options, being flexible. It's all great. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of all of you. One word of caution, I wouldn't knee-jerk reaction until after the election. I think you need to think about the CCNR because I think that's something that's very critical for the future of the village. And I personally would hope that the cutback does not get passed. It stays as is. And I would really look at optimizing the reduction of that local homestead exemption because you're going to need it for long term. Otherwise, you're going to be piecemealing it to get to where you want to be providing services that you're going to need in the very near future. Because I think your population is going to explode in the next 5 years. Thank you.
All right, I get to do some interim mayor pro tem thing. That's kind of cool. I've never done that. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this subject? I would like to add something before, or while the mayor's out, as soon as he comes in and all that kind of thing. Not because he's out, but you bring up a really good point in terms of the development of what the village was versus what the village is. And Jack, you were talking about it a little bit as well. You know, when this village was formed, it was a retirement community, it was a golfing community, it was something different than it is now. So the taxes, the infrastructure, those requirements didn't exist and there wasn't a need for them at that time. What you're finding now is a community that's growing and needs that infrastructure and needs that support, but we never, over the past 20 years, planned appropriately to support that. And you find the same thing in the school district, playing catch up. Here in the village, playing catch up. And we haven't got to, nor will we get to, an area that we are being proactive on anything if we fall back on our tax rate because it's some short-sighted position. If we continue to give what I would say, for the lack of a better phrase, something for nothing. I mean, it's a sweetheart of a deal here in terms of our tax breakout. And I'm not saying that we get rid of all of it. But Larry, to your point, I think you have to look long-term at the reduction of some of these things because it's not just getting out of the debt that we're in, but it's building the infrastructure that we need for the future. And you don't do that with the local homestead exemption and the over 65 exemption and the reduction in taxes, and 3 times, right? 3 times greater. You know, I mean, the stats that Tim's putting out are golden as far as this is concerned. It doesn't add up. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't have something for nothing. I promise you, this board, this administration is not being frivolous with your funds. And I understand that even if it is nothing more than a $600 increase in your taxes over a year, that's still $600. $50 a month is still $50. But I would ask you to just kind of have some perspective on this and really do the math as far as your property is concerned in relation to what that tax rate increase would be. I don't mean to marginalize or trivialize it, but in most properties, we're talking roughly about $50 increase a month on average. Now, again, varies, I get it. But the impact of not doing anything or going backwards versus the proactive plan that's being presented to you is not going to have you in a place where you want to be. And I got it. We're a municipality that cannot annex anything in unless those areas vote themselves in. That being said, why would anybody want to vote themselves into the village if they can't have the services or get something out of it? They aren't going to. They're going to stay in Bell County. I would venture to say that probably 95% of the population has no idea where Village ends and Bell County begins. Across the fairway from me, it's Bell County. Where I am, I'm in the Village. You'd never know. So take all of that into account and talk to your friends, please, because what's going to happen is you're going to reap what you sow. But from short-sighted selfishness that is not being taken into account something outside of what's a foot in front of your face. Sorry, I didn't mean to
Hope you're good.
do that, but I mean, it's important to think about.
And I talked about it early on in the first, in the very beginning about this with the tax rate. And my goal, I would like to be able to reduce it by half. The increase, I mean, the 9 cents, bring it down 4.5 cents, and then over another year, bring it down some more. But do it in a responsible manner. And because we do have, again, other revenue streams that are coming in that's going to offset that. So this, you know, people, I saw it again yesterday, that taxes are increased and they never or rarely come down. Well, we can see historically that it did come down from 62 cents to where we're at now at the 48 cents. So we were at 39 cents. So, okay. Anybody else have any more public comments?
Mayor, just want to add, because you brought it up real quick. Rooftops do not pay for a village to run itself. And we've been going on that quote unquote calculus for a long time. And to the mayor's point, we've stunted commercial growth in an effort to keep Salado. Well, congratulations, Salado, and you're cutting your nose off to spite your face because you can't bring in enough money off of rooftops to pay for the very things which you're asking for and wanting and need. Finally, we got this going on where you're starting to actually get some legitimate commercial growth. Although I'll tell you also that part of the reason we're just now starting to see some commercial growth movement is because you have enough of a population to have a demand for those commercial activities. So that's part of it also. But what you're going to see, I think, is a plan that's being put together that not only takes into account reduction in homestead exemptions and things of this nature and tax increases on residential property, but also a heavy investment in commercial tax through development. And that's something that we've been talking about for a long time, right? I mean, so take into account a lot of the things that we're talking about. It's not that the homeowner is going to have to bear the brunt of this in perpetuity. The idea is we get that commercial tax rolling, which is able to take care of a lot of these things. Not completely, but majority as opposed to minority. All right, I will shut up now. I'll turn it off.
Anybody else? Okay, I do appreciate the comments, and I do appreciate the positive discussions amongst the board. That's something that just a year ago we didn't have, and I'm appreciative of that, and I'm glad that we're able to have these type of open conversations. And again, it gives you an opportunity to see that what you're hearing and what you're seeing outside of these four walls is not always accurate. And you know, the best way to find out what I'm doing or what I said is to ask me. I'll tell you. Same with these guys. I have no reason. I don't know. I can't be any more transparent than I am. I'd have to strip down to my underwear and walk up and down Main Street, I guess, if y'all wanted any more transparency. Yeah. But I mean, I don't get it. I don't understand the rhetoric. I don't understand the why be that way and just, you know, create panic where it doesn't need to exist. To Manny's point, we got multiple phone calls today about that very thing. About, you know, people are concerned about their exemptions going away, and it's just not accurate. The things that the state, you know, we're trying to stick to what the state standard is. So anyway, I'm gonna get off my soapbox. If there's not anything else, no. So what are we doing with this, guys? Are we gonna Manny, what do you? Or, I'm sorry. So I don't know that we want to take a vote on this tonight. I think we want to kind of give some direction on where we want to go with this. I'm open to suggestions, guys. Whatever y'all want.
One thing I'd like to do is maybe, you know, we have a workshop. Maybe it's a special meeting. I don't know. But I think what I would like to do is I'd like to take a full review of the property tax breakout, like on a screen or on a whiteboard, and then use it kind of like course of action development, where we can go ahead and say, okay, this is what it looks like if you pull this away. This is what it looks like if you pull 50% of this away. This is what it looks like if you take this away. And if we have those pieces in place to do analysis on it in a visual and tactile way, I think we can come up with something that's probably a decent compromise for all parties concerned. And by all means, let's bring everybody in and have them take a look at it as it's being deliberated. But I don't, certainly like you, I don't think anything needs to be voted on tonight. I think a compromise is in order, but I think we need to take a look at the full array of the options available to us visually and have a very candid discussion on it in terms of what if it goes this way, what if it goes that way. Let's war game it a little bit. Let's take a look at the different courses of action to plug and play to see if we can come up with something that makes sense. That's the direction I would like to see us go, and the instructions that I would give you if everybody's amenable to it.
Yeah. Alderman Hurst?
No, I totally agree. Different courses of action, see what the tax rate is with the different levels, 10%, whether it's 5%, whatever.
Okay.
Let's put it together and do a little special meeting or something.
Risk analysis for everybody involved. That's what I want to see too as well. But I also want us to make sure that we can get the right information from the county, make sure that we have the right, so we can prepare. And also, I know there's a period of time that we need, if we're going to make this decision, we have to get it done by a certain date, time group too, by law. I'm aware of that.
Okay. You want to try to do it, maybe do a combination meeting with the town hall and a workshop?
That would
be for that.
That would be wonderful.
Or do you want to try to hold it on a?
No, let's do it for the next. The next town hall meeting is.
Your call.
April the.
I'm gonna have it for April 3rd because I only have next week, or to get through some legal issues.
Yeah.
For the following
April
week.
10th is the next.
So.
Is that right? No, the second.
Yeah. So it'd be 7 days. Yeah, April 10th.
Is that enough time?
I think so. At least we can shoot for that. If not, sometime the week after, before the next meeting, which is
the 17th.
17th. So if not, maybe that Tuesday or something. I'll need to. One, I need to work with the.
Can I do what?
The governor and the state legislature are talking about cutting property tax again. Do we have any facts on that yet?
I'm not prepared to. I don't have any of that in front of me right now.
Now, and the legislature won't let out till the end of May, early June. Anything takes effect will either be September 1 or January 1st. You need to make whatever decision you're going to be before July 1st.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Dillon. I was looking for.
And Manny, not looking to accelerate anything, but I mean, there's kind of two schools of thought on it, and one of them I heard was to hold on any decisions that are made until after the election. I mean, if we want to saddle people with that burden, newcomers coming in, okay, but there's also another side of that as well, which is, and I would hope everybody on this and out there that's running would do it anyway, but be making the right decision without concerning yourself about any political implications, you know. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No,
I'm not saying, let me vote on it because I'm not running again. I'll get out of here, you know. Not that, but at the same time, I don't want to say, okay, new guys, here you go, have fun, and leave dirty laundry. So as we walk through this, we may want to see what's best for all parties concerned. That's all I'm saying.
Understood.
And I think to Alderman Graham's point, I would almost be insistent that we do this before the election, because I do not want to, this started with this board, and I want to finish it with this one.
Way the new one starts with a clean slate. Yeah. And is able to focus on things of the future, not dealing with things in the past like we've done for the past 4 to 6 years.
Yeah, and the few candidates that are running for office, I've invited them to meet with me. So not everyone has reached out, but the point is you've been dealing with this, and you've been hit with decisions since December. You put the current budget in place. You knew what the strategy was. You cannot learn it in 6 weeks. You know, May and June, but you've got to make a decision by the end of June. And to go back, draw on board, will lose time, and you may be stuck with whatever if there's too much delay. Again, I'm not trying to make any one group, but you need to kind of decide what's the path forward.
Okay. All right. We're good to go? 8%. Okay. All right, next item, A, discussion and possible action on approving a development agreement between the Village of Salado and Kels International LLC regarding Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the Salado Center development. Is that Ms. Pence's?
No, let me take this. This is item 6A. So the Salado Center, Kels International LLC, the QT is located in Phase 1 of that development. This is a two-phase development, approximately, well, it is 33.217 acres, both in aggregate. The Salado Center Phase 1, you've not accepted the infrastructure at this time. It hasn't occurred. We did follow plat, but that process is never completed. Phase 2, you're going to be looking at the final plat later on this evening, and that has already gone before the planning and zoning. So this agreement, or it's actually probably the item following, this agreement will take care of certain issues. It will take care of streetlights that are not there, sidewalks that are not there, the inspections or the acceptance of Phase 1 that hasn't occurred. You did enter into an acceptance agreement for Salado Center Drive that goes both between Phase 1 and Phase 2. The boundary agreement has already occurred with the City of Belton, and that document has been recorded. So you'll see that portion of Salado Center near the I-35 frontage road, the northern end of the Phase 2 development, now within the city limits, that transfer of property has occurred with this agreement. So there is another road that's going to be built called Salado Center Loop on the eastern side of the Salado Center Drive. That's going to basically be behind, on the northern side of the GT, behind some other businesses that will line up along the frontage road. So this agreement not only wraps up Phase 1, Phase 2, it sets a performance bond for the Salado Center Loop Road. My recommendation is going to be based on a sheet that I left before you on Salado Center Loop Road costs, with the costs from the developer at $488,553.60. Okay? So if the road is completed and they have a year, they'll have a year to finish up the streetlights in Phase 1 and Phase 2. within the agreement. You'll see that. The sidewalks, the developer will require that every property owner through this agreement be responsible in accordance with our ordinances. Okay, so the sidewalks will go in 5 foot wide commercial on the back of curbs. So the developer won't build it, it'll get built at each track. And as I've sent you some information, we have a list of folks wanting to come in already. So, and then the last thing what it do is, just because you approve this agreement with a performance bond at this amount as credit of, letters of credit, not a cash bond, not a bond from a surety company, but letters of credit from the bank. If he completes it in 8 months, we can move to the next page and he can provide a 2-year warranty bond and it would be for the same dollar amount, right? So should we have any failures in any of the public infrastructure, there's funds available for that. So the agreement says you've got to complete street lights, phase 1 and 2, got to finish the latest Central Loop, we'll get that out of the way. So it wraps up these 2 phases into one overall comprehensive agreement. As you go through it, you'll see where it's got the developer's responsibilities and the city's responsibilities. It starts on the 3rd page, 3.1, developer shall, 3.2, the village shall. It is very straightforward. So, again, I think it's important that commercial developments move forward. This takes care of a lot of issues that were not resolved at the time of the development. And I think that we're all going to benefit from this product. In the audience is Jay Collins. This is R.J. Collins' son, gentleman sitting right there. I've met with Jay fairly often and his brother Tim. So, all 3 have been very accommodative, receptive, and I think that there were some things that we didn't do up front at the start, and they weren't familiar with our process. But I think that we've addressed everything that needs to be addressed in this one agreement. Whatever questions Mr. Collins and Jay Collins had, he's posed them. I think I've answered them. I think we prefer not to speak unless you have any very specific questions. He and I are not prepared to entertain any questions about any prospect tenants at this time. Any questions for me?
Mr. Dilworth, can you say that last part again? I hear.
The developer
Yes.
and I are not prepared to respond to any questions about any prospective tenants.
Thank you, Mr. Dilworth.
No questions in response to or regarding item 6A.
Okay. Alderman Hurst?
No questions.
No questions, Mayor. Thank you.
And just to confirm and clarify, we are good with the proposed amount as a performance bond, that's $488,553.60, and that be converted to the warranty bond at the conclusion of the performance bond. And that will occur, the performance bond will be cleared when you accept the infrastructure in phase 1 and in phase 2 in accordance with the agreement, and then the warranty bond kicks in for 2 years. Okay, I'm good now.
Great, thank you. All right, I'll open it up for public comments. Anybody? Mr. Collins, you want to get up and say something or no? You're good? Okay, all right. Anybody else? Nope. All right. I will open the floor for a motion.
Make a motion, we approve the development agreement between the Village of Salado and Kelts International regarding phase 1 and 2 of Salado Center development with the attachment reference to Loop Road cost and a total of $488,553.6.
Motion made by Alderman Graham to approve as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman McDonald. Any further discussion? Question called by Alderman Hurst. All in favor of approving development agreement between the Village of Salado and Kelts International LLC regarding phase 1 and phase 2 of the Salado Center development, say yes.
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 Any opposed, say no. Any abstentions? That passes 3-0. Mr. De La Rosa?
Thank you.
Item B, discussion and possible action on approving Salado Center Phase 2 final plat located northwest of the intersection of FM 2484 and IH 35. Mr. De La Rosa?
Ms. Pence is going to take this from there.
Okay.
So Mayor and Alderman, thank you. We are going to discuss, Mr. De La Rosa had actually highlighted a lot of the items that I was going to be talking about, but I am going to kind of go over this at a high level. The Salado Center Phase 2, that final plat is 14.03 acre tract of land. Of course, we know owned by Seltz International LLC, with Mr. Jay Collins here tonight. Phase 2 has 7 commercial lots, but of course this is all still zoned local retail. Phase 2 has the frontage, lots that actually face the I-35 access, so if you drive by, you'll see the QT and then all the lots there that are facing the access. That is Phase 2. As Mr. De La Rosa mentioned, the Salado Center loop in that section is actually under construction and will be completed as we move forward according to the agreement Mr. De La Rosa just went over with you all. And I do want to let you know that MRB Group, our engineers, have completed their review of this project, and it does meet the Salado subdivision standards and our requirements. We actually presented this project on March 11th to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and they recommended approval, passing 3-0.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Brown?
No questions.
Alderman Hurst?
No questions.
Alderman McDonald?
No questions, Mayor.
Any public comments? No? All right, then I will open this up for a motion.
Make a motion to approve 6B as presented.
Motion made by Alderman Hurst to approve item 6B as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Graham. Any further discussion? Question called by Alderman McDonald. All in favor of approving Salado Center Phase 2 final plat located northwest of the intersection of FM 2484 and I-35, say yes.
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 Any opposed, say no. Any abstentions? That passes. Mr. De La Rosa, 3-0. Discussion and possible action on acceptance of the Salado Sanctuary Phase 1B public infrastructure and authorize the release of the performance bond fiscal security amount of $130,952.35. Mr. De La Rosa.
Okay, Mayor and Alderman, we are recommending acceptance of the public infrastructure in the Salado Sanctuary Phase 1B. You might recall, and I did insert the original performance agreements. We have a fiscal security amount, a cash amount in the for $130,952.35. There's a letter of concurrence from the developer's engineer. The firm is Mack & Hoover. It's in here dated March 14th, and then we've also attached a letter from MRB Group dated March 18th, Tuesday of this week, that they are in agreement that and recommending acceptance of the public infrastructure. So public infrastructure will be in accordance with either the plat and the construction plans. The plat will tell, you know, which streets, what sidewalks, what sewer lines, what street lights are ours. So if you accept that infrastructure, then we will release the funds, and I'll have to go back to the agreement. Either the HOA or homeowners association or the property owner association will provide a warranty bond for the time period in accordance with the agreement.
We all got it. We're paying attention, Mr. De La Rosa. We're just reading some documents. Thank you.
Okay, Alderman Graham, you have any questions?
Just one. Mandy, did Solomon really want to make sure that we understood his recommendation? Because I've got 5 copies of the same thing in my packet.
Yeah, no, we're learning how to count.
Okay, just checking.
I have 6.
Oh, he has 6, and his are in color.
Mine's in color.
Wow.
Sorry, no legitimate questions, man.
Okay, Alderman Hurst?
No questions.
Alderman McDonald?
No questions, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. De La Rosa. Well, you know.
Just want to know we're looking at it.
Any public comments? Nope, okay, I'll open it up to motion.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve 6C as written. Thank you.
Motion made by Alderman McDonald to approve item 6C as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Hurst. Any further discussion?
Question.
Motion called by Alderman Graham. All in favor of approving item 6C as presented, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Any abstentions? That's 3-0. Mr. De La Rosa. D, discussion of possible action on amendment number 5 to the agreement for operations, maintenance, and management services by Operations Management International Incorporated, also known as Jacobs.
Okay, this evening we have Ms. Alexander, our project manager, and Grace German with Jacob, and that's the assistant project manager. So you might recall you've met Grace before when she first came on board, and I'll let them explain the amendment 5 being proposed.
How are y'all doing?
Good,
It was this time a year ago, as you know, annual update of our contract and increase in rates that's standard for sewer consumer price index and the employment index costs. So we did an annual review of all the operational costs, including the odor control system that's been now implemented at the Church Street lift station and Royal Street lift station, as it was mentioned in a previous meeting as well.
Wait,
so
that's up and running right now?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, fully functional. So that should reduce the odors. There actually should be none.
Okay.
So those are pumping continuously and helps with grease as well. So with that, also incorporated in the operational costs, we proposed a 5.5% increase. Do you have it in front of you by chance? From $185,000 from last year, broken up into $112 invoice cost, to $195, $239.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Can you repeat that, ma'am?
Yes, the
The
cost
number.
from,
Yeah, the
from
cost
last
analysis
year.
last of this.
It was 185,061 to 195,239. So over a 12-month period, we break it down, about a 10,178 increase over 12 months.
Okay. Is that it? Okay, thank you. Alderman Graham, you have a question?
Manny, are you comfortable with the CPI and industry standards in relation to this?
Yes, sir, I am
Okay.
comfortable. Without really telling them too much, they were still better than some of the other competitors that they have.
Okay. So fair price.
Fair price.
Got it. That's all I have.
Alderman Hurst?
No questions.
Alderman McDonald?
No questions, thank you.
Okay. Any public comments? Nope. Randy, you have anything else to add?
No, sir.
Alexander? Okay. All right, I'll open it up for a motion.
Mayor, I motion that we approve item 6 Delta as written for the amount of $195,239, effective 1 April 2025.
Motion made by Alderman McDonald to approve as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Hurst. Any further discussion?
Question.
Question called by Alderman Graham. All in favor of approving item 6D as presented, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Any abstentions? That passes 3-0. Mr. De La Rosa, item 6E, discussion and possible action on authorizing payment to the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality in the amount of $12,750 for violations discovered during a record review on October 31st, 2023. Mr. De La Rosa, is this is something that we've already discussed in the past? It's already been before the board, right? When this thing first kind of came through and it was a discussion with Jacobs, or is it a different one where?
It's a different one. This actually goes back some time.
Yeah, this is the one that
It's not when things froze up.
Okay.
So, and they took care of that equipment, so we may or may not see a violation of that, and Ms. Alexander and I discussed that. This infraction happened back like in 2022.
2022 and
2023.
Okay.
So,
Former
we're talking about what froze and the equipment and a violation from that.
Yeah.
So this is actually prior to that, Mayor. So this letter from TCQ dated February 18, 2025, it gives you that penalty amount of $12,750. Or if you do what's called a SEP, Conditional Supplemental Environmental Project, it will cost you more to do the project than to just pay the penalty. And since it was something that they're going to inherit, the penalty, they opt to just pay the $12,750. So again, you've seen Jacob step up to the plate before. They're doing it again. This is something that occurred on their watch. Maybe not ours, but certainly we take responsibility for what happened. The letter is addressed to you as the chief executive, but I'm copied, and the penalty is not against Jacob. TCQ doesn't care who's managing it. We're the permit holder. So they hold us responsible, and then we hold Jacob responsible through our contract.
Okay. So let's address a question that was asked on Facebook today. What's the guarantee that Jacob is actually going to reimburse us for this $12,000 and some change?
Well, the guarantee is that Ms. Alexander had said that they would.
Okay.
So did your boss. I don't want to say his name. You certainly may, but I met with all three of you. We've addressed it. We discussed it. So unless they change their mind, my belief is that they're going to honor that.
And I have no reason to believe otherwise, so
Neither
that
do
for
I.
me. Thank you. There's your proof. Yeah. All right. Anything else?
No, if you have any questions for Ms. Alexander, we didn't really discuss the terms. We did discuss maybe we submit payment and we get credit on the next month or something, something like that. I want to make sure we finalize that. And again, that's for you to ask them what they're thinking and for I get some direction to make sure that we're all in agreement.
Yeah. What's an acceptable action for you on that?
So whatever payment would need to come from the Village of Salado, and we had reimbursed by deducting that amount from the next service invoice.
Okay.
Which runs about 17,000. I can't. Yeah. Fine.
Okay.
So my only comment would be, I see in the agenda it says 12,750.
Yeah.
But CCQ actually deducted it to 10,500. If we proceed quickly.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't have that, but even though it's not in the agenda, I think since it's less and not more, I think we'll be good.
Yeah. Okay.
Because that administrative fee is the $25.50, right? Or something like that.
That's what they're reducing it by, yes.
They're getting rid of that and just doing the.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, proposing one-time offer to defer $25.50 of the administrative if you pay the penalty.
But the way I read that is if we agree to the settlement offer, we're not agreeing.
No, I talked to Samantha Smith with CCQ a couple days ago to confirm the 2,500.
Okay, and we don't have to enter into the settlement agreement.
Correct.
Okay. I'll get a confirmation just with that amount from you. I don't have it in writing, and then I'll, okay?
Is it 10.5 or 10.2?
I think it's 10.2, according to the TCEQ.
It is.
Yeah, take a look at that.
But that's all contingent on that settlement offer. Is it 10-2?
10.2.
They'll take that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
It's in that second paragraph of the letter addressed to Bert.
Please find and close. Starts with please find and close.
Yeah, and I have the email from Samantha Smith earlier this week that confirms that.
Okay.
That I can share. And then however, we can discuss payment later, but whatever is easier for y'all.
Okay. All right. Alderman Graham, you have any more questions?
No questions.
Alderman Hurst?
No questions.
Alderman McDonald?
No questions.
Okay. Any public comments? Mr. Del Rosa, you have anything else to add?
No, I want to thank him. We've had sewage spills, we've had problems just around town. Both Graves and Adriana have been very accommodative. So, and they've had a new, the gentleman you met at the TML conference is no longer there. There's a new gentleman, a new regional manager. I think that's
Right.
yeah, and they're all been very cooperative and they're very responsive when we have after hours. Fridays, 5 o'clock, Eagle Heights, those kind of things, sewage spills, and not sewage spills, alleged sewage spills, and they're really not ours, they're private homeowners.
Just to echo Mr. Del Rosa's point, I really do appreciate the level of cooperation and level of service that Jacob does provide to the village. You guys are very receptive and very quick in responding to our needs, and we are very appreciative of that. And also that, you kind of take responsibility for, whatever happens, if it's say your fault, if it falls under Jacob's purview and happens on their watch. Now twice, you guys have taken responsibility for that, and we are very appreciative of that. Okay, no public comments on this? All right, do we gotta do questions? No? Okay, go ahead. Do you have anything?
No questions.
Okay, you?
No questions, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. No public comments? All right, Manny, anything else to add?
No, sir.
Okay, I'll open the floor for a motion.
Make a motion that we authorize the payment of 10-2 for violations discovered during the record review on October 31st to TCEQ with the same dollar value coming out of our next bill from Jacobs as a rebate. Or that.
Yes.
Okay. Motion made by Alderman Graham to approve as he presented.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman McDonald. Any further discussion? Question called by Alderman Hurst. All in favor of approving item 6E as presented, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Mr. De La Rosa, that passes 3-0. F, we've already done. G, discussion and possible action on approving ordinance number 2025, TAC 09, an ordinance granting the Salado Water Supply Corporation certain powers, licenses, privileges, and a franchise to operate and maintain a water utility system within the village, to use the streets, avenues, easements, right-of-ways, alleys, highways, sidewalks, and bridges in said village for a period of 5 years, prescribing certain rights, duties, terms, and conditions, providing for the payment to the village of a percentage of its total billed water usage, and providing for acceptance and providing for certain related matters. Mr. De La Rosa.
Okay, we've had a franchise ordinance with the Salado Water Supply Corporation. It is expired. They continue to make franchise fee payments. You might recall that we entered into one with the Mustang Springs utility, a franchise fee because anything between public right-of-ways. We also, in February the 20th, you've entered into a franchise agreement with the Health International LLC for the Salado Center area, right? So it was time that we renewed this. It was just something that's on my to-do list. And I think the only thing we added, I was trying to find it, an automatic renewal every 5 years unless it's revoked by one or the other party. In other words, when it expires, it'll just extend for another term period. Yeah.
All right. Alderman Graham, any questions?
Manny, is this any different, or are there any major differences between this ordinance with Salado Water Supply Corporation and the other two you just mentioned?
No, I think this one I actually gave a little bit more allowances because they were already existing, and that's how the person read. So I was trying to maintain that. I was trying to go back to make sure we did.
Any major adjustments from the previous one with Salado Water Supply Corporation and this one?
No, sir. It's still basically just them because they are within. Even when the village wasn't incorporated, it was still within the county right away, and those are public lands still.
Right.
So this is very fair. It's very similar to the others in the same percentage, the 4% payment, just like all the others.
Consistency and parity across all three.
They are.
Got it. I'm done.
Okay, Alderman Hurst.
Then you said there it is. It'll renew for another 5 years, once 5 years is done.
Yes.
Okay. That's all I got.
Alderman McDonald, no further questions, thank you. Okay, any public comments? All right, I'll open this up to motion.
Make a motion we approve ordinance number 205, TAC 09 as presented.
Motion made by Alderman Graham to approve ordinance number 2025, TAC 09 as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Hurst. Any further discussion? Question called by Alderman McDonald. All in favor of approval of ordinance number 2025, TAC 09, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Any abstentions? That passes 3-0, Mr. De La Rosa. H, discussion and possible action on the 2025 Consumer Price Index CPI adjustment to the municipal telecommunications right-of-way access line rates. Mr. De La Rosa?
Okay, if you have telecommunications, cell, landlines, those kind of things, if they're on a public utility pole, there's an opportunity for you to get a franchise fee from that. So if you'll go to the letter from the PUC that we've got to notify them, you'll see on the second page or the backside, you'll see the residential amounts there. You'll see that currently it is $1.65. It's proposed to go up to $1.72. That's an 8-cent increase. Non-residential from $5.71 up to $5.93. That's a 22-cent increase. And point to point from $7.88 to $8.18. That's a 30-cent increase. Again, remember, these are the same folks that when they need to work in your right-of-way, they tend to rut up, damage things, but they are still making money utilizing the city's public right-of-way. So, I don't even think I've recommended approval. Last year you did not approve it, so I leave it up to you again. Give me direction what you want to do.
Okay, Alderman Graham?
No questions.
Alderman Hurst? No questions. Alderman McDonald?
Yes, Mr. De La Rosa. So, because we weren't in an agreement last year, however, typically speaking, how do we receive funding from these telecommunications or these easement franchise? How do we get paid for that?
It's the payments are actually made from the individual companies to the city. So we get quite a few franchise fees from various vendors like Spectrum or Charter, the parent company, and others that are within our right of way. So I can tell you we're getting pretty,
Are they monthly, sir?
No, they're more like quarterly.
Quarterly?
And it's anything from $4 to a couple of $100. So, cities are accustomed to getting franchise fees. A lot of those regulations a lot of the franchise fees were taken away by the state. So the fees are there, and like this is, it goes through the Public Utility Commission. If you agree, then they collect it and they remit it. They'll let these companies know that.
Thank you for answering my question. No other questions, Mayor.
All right, any public comments on this? Nope. All right, I'll open it up for a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve 6H as written.
Motion made by Alderman McDonald to approve item 6H as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Graham. Any further discussion? Question called by Alderman Hurst. All in favor of approving the 2025 Consumer Price Index adjustment to the municipal telecommunications right-of-way access line rates, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Any abstentions? That's 3-0, Mr. De La Rosa. I, discussion and possible action on a request from the Heart of Texas Corvette Club on reserving public parking spaces on April 3rd, 2025 from 4:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. to hold an event at Chupacabra Kitchen located at 409 South Main Street. This is similar to what we had for the last event, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, that's another request for April 3rd. There's a map, and I think I put the color ones in there, or Ms. Spinks did. And I think that it was favorable. I think we had a good turnout, and we certainly worked with the property owners, like across the roadway on Stagecoach Inn. You heard Mr. Perry earlier today, so I know you got a few phone calls, but I think it all worked out well. So I'm recommending that we continue this, or at least approve this, and then continue having park clubs come in and work out some type of showings and come through this board to ask for permission to park in certain areas.
All right. Alderman Graham?
No questions.
Alderman Hurst?
No questions.
Alderman McDonald?
No questions, Mr. De La Rosa. Thank you, Mayor.
Any public comments? Oh, all right. I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, make a motion that we approve 6I as requested and written.
Motion made by Alderman McDonald to approve item 6I as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Graham. Any further discussion?
Question.
Question called by Alderman Hurst. All in favor of approving the request of the Heart of Texas Corvette Club to reserve public parking spaces on April 3rd, 2025 from 4:30 to 7:30 p.m. for an event at Chupacabra Kitchen, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Oh, yeah, that'd be 2-1. Mr. Del Rosa, one abstention. Alderman Hurst is abstaining because of his
Got it.
affiliation with Chupacabra.
Oh, okay,
Is that
yes,
correct?
makes sense, okay.
J, discussion of possible action on approving the financial reports ending February 28, 2025. Mr. Del Rosa.
Okay, I hope you've noticed that on the first page, you've been getting a fund balance summary. I generally don't get a lot of questions, but you do get it with enough time to review the financials. We've also posted them almost immediately, even at the same time you're receiving them, they're being posted on our website. I stated earlier that we've segregated the funds for should the petition pass. We also have been, we need to submit our payment to the Sanctuary Development developer, the Hanks family, by sometime near the end of March. We're required to submit the annual payment within 60 days after taxes are paid. So taxes are due at the end of January, so end of March. So I've seen the spreadsheet today. I'll be sending that to you here soon. The city account was, so it was actually reviewed by the appraisal district. They looked at all the properties, they identified them, they specified them, they calculated each property. We'll have to sum up every column, and then and I'm having legal review because it appears that we shouldn't be paying the INS. I don't know if I sent you the email yet, but we're not. It's been paid in the past. If it is, we're going to deduct that. We are following that agreement through the letter. So we also look at previous years. I was here last year. I wasn't told that there was any funds owed. It looked like there may be, but we went all the way back to 2015. So we did a very comprehensive look at that agreement. We had the appraisal district, and certainly their staff has been accommodated. It's a little slower getting the information out than I would like, but we will meet our deadline. I'll let you know as soon as that is, and then we'll cut the payment. I will advise you, but it looks like it's around $18,000. I saw that today. There was 3 different spreadsheets. The largest was $16,000 for this last year. That being said, also we've restructured how we look at our permitting, and this started several weeks ago. I appreciate we have the police department, and it now makes contact when we don't have a permit on site, and they encourage those contractors to come visit us. I am now looking between this tent and I, we look at the building permits. We are having buildings that are approximately 3,000 square feet, 2,500 square feet, and getting roofing permits for $7,297 when they should be $63,000. Yeah, so we're having to educate some of our contractors and some of our business owners that what the building code says. So we discussed valuations, we discussed permit requirements. So it is not fair to our permit clerks that they are looking at something that they are not very familiar with. So we are now looking at those, and we're holding people accountable. We're holding developers and property owners accountable for those items. There are, on the sewer side, there are people that connected sometime in 2019, bought properties in 2022, own 2 buildings on Main Street. One, they're paying sewer, and they have not been. And the response from the owner is, well, I didn't know that the water and sewer were separate, and then I find out a week later that they own 2 buildings and they're paying the other one. We're going back 12 months and collecting. We probably will not be able to collect the impact fees because I think we would have difficulties proving that they had knowledge that they illegally connected to the sewer main along Main Street. So those are the kind of conversations that we're having today. We are doing much better at these collections. We're having many more debates, so I am sure that, you're gonna hear soon. But this has all been happening in the last few weeks, so, Ms. Gawina, will run those things, through Ms. Pence. By the way, you created the Department of Administrative Services. Ms. Pence is now the director of that. It oversees development services, IT, and tourism. So, and all of it is, what is our business model and what is our strategy moving forward? We need to be much more efficient and effective when it comes to how we run our city operations. You do. You have a fiduciary duty as much as I do. You're the politicians, and I like the term the mayor used today, I am the pit bull. So, the point is, we are very civil and we're very polite, but you cannot continue doing this, and it's an education process. So, unless, do you have any questions, anything specific you want to go over? But we are really looking at our financing. We're segregating funds. You're gonna start seeing, some of these revenue streams change. And I think you've got a lot of developments going on. The 200-acre development that we talked about along FM 2268, I'm meeting with engineers and consultants next week to look at our plan, and you've already gotten an email of financing options that they're going to look at in a partnership they may or may not want to enter with you. So again, developers coming in, large acreage, are willing to front the money.
Those are the ones we want. Okay, Alderman Graham?
I just really appreciate the way you're explaining things, and that first sheet with the fund balance summary and efforts to collect those things that were left on the table in the past. So thank you and the team for the work y'all are doing on that. Really appreciate it. It speaks volumes for y'all, and yeah.
Alderman Hurst?
I agree and think of that.
Thank you. Alderman McDonald?
Just a quick question. When it comes to permitting and enforcement and things of that nature, I know that at least you and I have had professional conversations about what it would be to bring somebody on board to fulfill that, I've been using the word simply building inspector deal. And I understand that's not something we can even do right now. But with Chief doing the due diligence for the administration on that, is it just Chief that's going to the positions, or is it any officer that goes out?
Any officer.
Okay. So what happens if I say, thanks for showing up, Chief, for me doing my illegal work on the property. Thanks for your time. I'm going to continue. What happens next? Because that's enough. I'm sorry.
I can answer that. We addressed it today. We had a situation today that
I want to do that for public purposes.
Yeah. So you want to go ahead?
Yeah. So if you come to my property and I don't have a permit, and I'm doing work on my property and I own the property, and I'm doing something that should require a permit based on ordinance, right? And I continue to do so, what is your options for me to continue or not to continue?
Our first option is we ask you to stop working and fulfill the obligation of receiving the permit. We explain the permitting process and send them down to the village administration buildings. There has been occasions when that warning wasn't heeded.
Yes.
And contractors decided to continue work, at which time we no longer ask them to come down here. We force them to stop working, force them to leave the job site. Today we actually had one where we had a third contact with the same individuals, at which time they received citations for violation of city ordinance, failed to receive a permit.
Okay. My question would be also to the effect of, what if I'm the property owner?
The property owner is the one who receives the citation.
Understood. Thank you for answering my question, Chief.
We're enforcing ordinances.
You might recall that in January of this year, you adopted the 2021 edition of the International Code Council and all the related zoning codes. So we are certainly enforcing that, and that ordinance has a provision for civil and criminal penalties.
Which means they can go to jail.
On that, man.
Sure. Which means they can go to jail. Yep. So they can go to jail. Ultimately, if I want to be that individual, that citizen that absolutely just wanted to admonish your direction and purpose, could you take me to jail for not following those safety instructions?
Yes, sir. That is an arrestable offense.
Thank you. Thank
And
you
it
for
was-
answering my questions, Chief. I mean that.
And that was, included in our ordinance by design. We had a conversation with that individual today, and, you start throwing that kind of weight around, it gets their
And you
attention.
saw the fine per day?
Yeah, what was it, $2,000? Yeah. So we did, Manny did a good job in protecting us on that one. So there's a civil and potentially a criminal penalty for that too, so.
And again, we do this early on, Mayor and Alderman, because once the message gets out that we're very serious about this, I think you'll have compliant developers and property owners.
Yeah. And it is, it's an education process, and that's what kind of came in here today, and tensions were kind of high, and some words were exchanged, and they very quickly were able to kind of de-escalate and say, listen, this is not anything, let's hit the reset button. And he agreed. So, all right, thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Anybody else? Nope. Any public comments? Of course. Come up here. Huh? You are mobile. You can grab that mic when you get up there too.
I would suggest that you think about hiring building inspectors. They're not
Are you
that
aware of our
expensive.
financial situation, sir?
Pardon?
Are you aware of our financial situation?
Yeah, but.
So we
you
thought
should-
about it. We don't have the money to do it.
Yeah.
Right. Go ahead.
But you can charge, just like you charge commercial builders, you charge them fees for inspections. You can do the same thing with your permits. When you have somebody, you're actually not spending any more money, you're getting reimbursed through your permit process. So don't look at it as an out-of-pocket expense.
But then what happens if the permits slow down and then we don't have the permit money coming in and we can't pay that employee?
You think it's gonna slow down?
You don't think I thought about that?
Yeah, you think it's gonna slow down? How often are you gonna send the police chief out there to do your inspections and something happens, something critical happens?
He's not inspecting, he's just there it's a phone call to PD and
Well,
they
he's
go
out there
and they
checking to
respond.
see if they have a permit.
Yes.
No, he's delivering a message. He's really not checking to see permit. So let me clear that. Today we had complaints on Eagle Heights that we had 2 porta potties on a roadway, and actually Sergeant Dunchie brought it to our attention because it's a road hazard, you can't see him at night. So he calls us, we made contact, you made contact with the developer, Crothers Homes out there. So no, they're just delivering a message. And the reason we cannot go, and we had this discussion financially while we're still on that topic, is because we don't have the software infrastructure to track the number of building permits that we have. And because we're dependent on Bureau Veritas software.
How's that working for you?
Well, you know what, we had a Come to Jesus meeting 2 weeks ago, and I had to call a couple of days ago to remind them of that meeting. So it's either get on board or we'll look for other services. But the point is they have infrastructure, they have software infrastructure that can track it. Most cities buy the software, and then Bureau Veritas imports that data into our system. We don't even have our own accounting software. So those are items that we need to address before we can go out and get our own inspectors, because we have way too many projects and we are way too dependent. So if we terminated that contract, we would have to export and import that data, and we don't have the software.
Well, I'm sure there's workarounds, a workaround that, but also with inspectors, you probably save a lot of money in Veritas
Yeah, and
fees,
we're running,
significant amounts.
and we're looking at those numbers.
That's all I got.
Thank you. Anybody else? No? Okay. Then I will open it up to a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve the financials as provided.
Motion made by Alderman Graham to approve the financial statements as provided.
Second.
Second by Alderman McDonald. Any further discussion? Question called by Alderman Hurst. All in favor of approving the financial reports ending February 28, 2025 as presented, say yes.
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 Any opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Okay, Mr. DeRosa, that passes 3-0. Item 6K, discussion and possible action on appointing Teresa Spinks as the city secretary.
Okay, I can't recall how Ms. Spinks has been here, but she certainly has worked with our former city secretary, Deborah Bean. So with Ms. Bean's departure and resignation, just retirement, Ms. Spinks stepped up while Ms. Bean was on leave as an assistant city secretary. She has embraced that role. We advertised that position 3 weeks ago today. We've only had 2 applicants. I shared them with you. I believe that Ms. Spinks is still the most qualified, plus I believe in promoting internally if possible, right? So it is my recommendation to you that it's a statutory position that I'm recommending her to the Board of Aldermen for appointment.
Okay. Alderman Graham?
I don't have any questions.
Alderman Hurst? No questions. Alderman McDonald?
No question.
Any public comments?
And if you don't know, I mean, she's sitting right here to my right, so.
The public comments? All right, I will open it up for motion.
Making a motion to appoint Teresa Spinks as the village secretary for Salado.
Motion made by Alderman Hurst to appoint Teresa Spinks as the city secretary.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Graham. Any further discussion?
Question.
Question called by Alderman McDonald. All in favor of appointing Teresa Spinks as the city secretary, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Ms. Spinks, we appreciate you. Appreciate your willingness to step up and fill this. It's a very critical role here in this building and the village, and I have all the confidence in the world that you're going to do a great job.
We wish you a long and happy and healthy tenure.
Yes, we do. All right, item 7, executive session. The Board of Aldermen will enter a closed executive session to discuss the following. A, pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.074, to deliberate the evaluation of the village administrator. The time is 8:37, and we are now entering into executive session. Good. The time is 9:04, and we are leaving executive session, reconvening in the regular Board of Aldermen meeting. Item 8A, discussion of possible action, if any, regarding items listed under executive session, which was to deliberate on the evaluation of Village Administrator Manny De La Rosa, and we are taking no action on that at this time. So the next item on the agenda is adjournment. Do I have a motion?
Move to adjourn.
So moved, 9:05.